Hi, everyone. I'm just getting things set up. It's Lon. Just let me know in the live chat if you can hear me. Thanks. Hello, Sabrina. How are you today? Oh, I'm good, thanks. I'm actually looking at the note just above from Hamza. Hamza, of course. You got it. First one to volunteer. You got your note taking. Excellent. And I have some thoughts just to make some improvements on it. But yes, Hamza will be our note taker. Anyways, we're not going to start for another 10 minutes. I'm just still getting connected and getting some windows set up. So I'll leave my microphone open, and actually I will share my video now as well so you can see me. There we go. And let me just see how this is going to work. Yeah, good, 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 good. Okay, so that's going to work. Yeah, and I can see the YouTube live stream going on my iPhone just beside me. Great, and that's working. That's muted, so nothing will. Hi, Hamza. Yes, did you hear? I'll definitely agree to you doing the notes if you would like. Still, it's a go. Perfect. Okay, I'll explain more when we start the class about the notes. I'm just looking at the YouTube live stream. Yeah, okay, so that's good. That's good. Excellent. Okay, I've got enough bandwidth here. Great, so people are coming into the class. I'm just going to play around here for the moment. I guess I could do this. Hi, Dalton. How are you? Good. Okay, so let's see. If I share that, oh no, I don't want to share that. I'd want to share that, but I can't actually run the video very well. Right? Yeah. But how does it look when it comes up? Yeah, well, we can talk about it. But if I let's see what happens if I click on the video. It's going to be pretty choppy, but I won't get hit for any copyright infringements from YouTube because this is open source. So let me come back to that for a second and see what happens, and I'll mute the audio here so that doesn't get in the way. Will it actually run? How does it look? Well, it's all right. Now, if I do this, I'm just going to try. Oh, that's nice. We're over the Black Sea now. Let's see. Yeah. Now, if I go full screen, what happens on this? Let's see. Do they get it full screen? No, it's not quite the same. It's just more black. Okay, so we'll leave that. Now, if I went theater mode on it, let's see what happens there. I don't think it really makes much of a difference. Nah, a little bit. But maybe I'll just leave that here for now. But then we miss the, well, anyways. Oh, but if we go theater, do we immediately get the live chat? Yeah. Okay, so that gets rid of the other videos and we get the live chat, which is not bad. Okay, so maybe I'll just leave that for now. We are over Turkey at this moment. Samson, Turkey. As we begin the class today, live? Yes, it's night in Turkey. This is the live view from the International Space Station right now. It's a little bit dark because we are moving towards the farther east. We're still in the Middle East, but you can see in the window a little dashboard below, just next to Turkey, the name. You'll see the movement of the space station. It just went over past Istanbul, and you can track its movement. And that looks pretty good. Okay, oops, the connection. All right, so we can still run the space station. And I like that, but I'll stop sharing it for the moment. Come back here. Good. So I'm just doing a bit of stick handling right now online to make sure everything's good. Yeah. Okay, so we can move that along, but the critical thing right now is there's our YouTube live stream. Ooh, are we losing some bandwidth? No, it's coming back. Okay, so we'll let that go for now. And I will come back to here. Good. So I can see everything right now. Nice. So that's being shared. I can always go over there. Good. We're almost nailed down with that. Okay. That's what we want. That's what we want. Yeah, I think I saw what the issue was there. Good. So if I want to screen share, and then this, of course, this is a critical part of today's class, right? So let's just see how that looks. How that's going to look on the live stream. High def live stream. Nice. Nice. Our world in data. Great. So we have, looks like 17 people in the class right now. And we still have 5 minutes before we launch. I'm still just on the tarmac right now, getting ready for takeoff. Checking to see the power of our tech, if everything is working. That looks pretty good on the YouTube live stream. I'm looking at that right now. Yep, there's the class underneath all the planets. Planet K, planet SH, planet Adam, planet AA, planet D, planet HA, planet H. So our cosmos is filling up with planets. That's good. Okay. So I'll be able to share quite nicely. And if I want to stop the sharing, I just do this. Oh no, that does it. Did that do it? No, that does it. That does it officially. And then I have to click that to bring it over here. So we always have it coming back here on me. So I've got them. I'm controlling what they see. And that way on the live stream, we're really good. Great. Okay. So let us see. Hamza is going to be doing the notes. Hamza Ali. Hamza, are you at Ontario Tech as well, or you're a transfer or bridge student?
Transfer program.
Oops, sorry. I think my audio might be something was reverbing there. I'll just check. It might be me. Is it on? Yeah, it's on our live stream there. Yeah, I got that. I was getting reverb. And Hamza, what are you studying? Okay. Okay. Okay, we're getting close. And what do we have in Humanities Destiny, which is our 2 o'clock class? Great. Thanks, Hamza. Computer System Tech transfer. Okay, good. Well, if there are any computer related or system related issues with the class you think need addressing or improvements that need to be made, please put them in the notes, or you can bring them up to the class. But I'm always tweaking and trying to improve how we deliver this class. So great. So 19, that's good. And in Humanities Destiny, we have 56 students registered. That's a full class. So right now we're at 20 in the synchronous group so far. So we might get about half coming today live, half asynchronously, but we shall see. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Right. Okay. Hi, Masoom. How are you today? Could you please, the ones who've arrived, the 20 who are there, would you just please go ahead and put your full name in the live chat? Full name, first and last, that will get the participation marks given accurately. Thank you. Great. Well, you know what? I'm going to start and a little bit early, but that's fine. We can make sure that everything's working correctly. Welcome, everyone, to Humanities Destiny, our fourth class this semester. And in today's class, we're going to move away from a current event, which we spent a couple of classes on, and we're going to really start talking about the next big thing. We're going to define the next big thing. We're going to talk about what you might think it is. We're going to look at some good information and a source material on how to determine what the next big thing might be. And then, of course, we're going to conclude by just reviewing the notes that Hamza is going to be doing today. Hamza Ali has already volunteered. He had entered the class early, which is great, and he volunteered immediately. And I love to see that kind of initiative and motivation. And so Hamza will be doing the notes. And just while we're on that for the moment, uh, I'd like to talk about the notes, and then we're going to move towards who's on board, check in with all of you, talk a little bit about the world today and what's happening right now, particularly with the strike, update you on some things, and then we're going to get into the next big thing. And I'll deliver a sort of a brief lecture on it. But most importantly is that we're going to be able to interact and engage around what is coming. What is the next big thing? And we will get a definition for that, not to worry. Excellent. Okay, so in terms of the notes today, Hamza, here's what seems to be working in the other classes as well, is keep the notes independent of the live chat on your own in a separate document, and then 2 or 3 times throughout the class, just cut and paste what you have, just as an update, so we can check in with what you have. But the most important thing, Hamza, is at the end of the class, cut and paste everything you have, the complete notes. Just put it there, and here's what will happen, okay? Of course, I save the live chat, so I will cut and paste that into a PDF, and that will become our notes that will be available in the class folder. But at the same time, could you cut and paste that into your fourth discussion post, just so I have a record of that, and then I will give you the 5 out of 5. Okay, is that clear, Hamza? Great, thanks. Excellent. So we have right now 25. Yeah, I thought maybe we might get half the class live and half the class asynchronous. That may be the case. Hi, Tenzin, Ibrahim, Kathy, Daniel, Rudra, and everyone else. Noah, great. We're just getting off the tarmac right now, and before we start officially with our next big thing class today, I want to just do a little bit of housekeeping and also deal with the strike and explain what is coming in terms of classes. So first, in terms of housekeeping, a little bit, I want to just take you to an announcement that was posted on DC Connect for all of you, and it is about the first assignment that's coming. And I'm going to just share that right now so that everybody has that. And here we go. Great. So share that. So everyone should now see the announcement that was posted on DC Connect. And I'm just going to briefly go through that with you because I want to make sure that you are all clear on what's coming. So take a look at that for the moment, and I will come to wherever that is. Oh, here it is. Got it. Okay. So I'm just scrolling down a little bit so you can see the critical thing. At the bottom of the message in red, you will see the due date, Tuesday, October the 14th. So this is your first of 3 assignments, and the other 2 will be given in the second half of the course, with the big assignment being, of course, at the end of the course. That will be a full essay or a video that you'll make. You'll have a choice. But essentially, here is what it is, all right? Assignment 1, ooh, I see a typo. Assignment 1 should be between, look at that, I'm missing the number 1. Hold on, I think I can make the correction right now on the fly. What, I think I can do this. Edit, assignment 1, update. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Fixing on the fly. There we go. Assignment 1 should be between 725 to 750 words and should discuss your hopes for our collective future. Now, that's pretty big, right? So you may have some questions about what does that mean exactly, but maybe not. It will become more clear to you in classes getting closer to that due date. But it is worth 15% and is out of 10 and will be graded as follows. Please familiarize yourself with this. And why don't we just take a few seconds right now to give you a chance to look at it in case you haven't. And then if you have any questions about the first assignment as you see it here, please, if you can, jump on your microphone. It just makes for better interaction. If you can't, I understand, but please try. Let's see some messages. No, Sabrina. There is a Dropbox open for it now already. So don't post your assignment in the discussion post. That's separate, okay? Good. Go ahead if there are any questions. Sabrina had a good question. Usually a question you may have is likely shared by other students. So please don't be shy.
Yeah, I have a question actually. I
Sure.
wanted to ask pretty simply. So the assignment is just writing 750 words based on our hopes for humanity's future.
Yes. Now that's very broad, okay? But it's purposely broad. So I want you to be talking about specifically what do you hope will happen for humanity that will make things better?
Based off of personal or off of course content?
Off of course content. Exactly. You got it. So
So
go ahead. Who's that?
no,
Who is it speaking?
makes sense.
Yeah.
Dalton.
Dalton, yeah. So it's broad, but I'm trying to give you a big ground to work in, but you may want more specific instruction from me, so now is the time, and you can always ask it in subsequent classes. But I'm really trying to get a sense, Dalton, of as you look ahead into the future, however you see the future, whether it's the next 100 years, 500 years or so, but just, stick to the next 50 to 100 years,
Sure.
your lifetime. As we talk about the future, I think it is very good to always use your lifetime as a reference. Then we will open things up further in other classes. But for this purpose of this assignment, you can be talking about just your lifetime. And in that, you're really going to get a sense of generally, are you a pessimist or an optimist around whether the world that you're going to be uh, graduating into, uh, building a life, a career, a family, perhaps, and others. Will that world be one in which you will be comfortable living in, or whether you see more problems, more difficulties, more complications, and more conflict, more violence, more difficulties? And that's the idea, is to kind of just reflect on that. Do you have hope for humanity's future or not? And then see where that takes you in 725 to 750 words. But it's a kind of an exploration for you to see what you think. You may learn in the process of writing it that you're more optimistic than you think, or more pessimistic. But let the writing process lead you towards some kind of conclusion. And the writing writing is something I am very devoted to, as a way of understanding what you think about things. And it's in the process of rewriting that you often gain clarity. So it may be that you're not used to writing this way, but I will help you, because this is more sophisticated, advanced kind of writing. It helps you to be less afraid of the writing process and more open to what it can reveal to you as you rewrite and as you rewrite. Does that make sense, Dalton?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. We're good.
Okay, so let me just look at the live chat as well. Good, there are questions coming in, but let me just check first and see if there are any others that want to jump on their microphones. Okay, Dalton has, Hamza has as well earlier. If not, I'll just go straight to the live chat and take a look at what's here. Okay, um, okay, so here in the live chat, Adam is asking, can the assignment be more than 750 words, or is that's the max, Adam? 725 to 750. You have a little wiggle room either way. If you come in at 770 or 775, that's okay, but not 800. Okay, if you come in at 725 or 700, 710, that's fine, but not, 680. So you have a wiggle room of 20 words at either end or so. Yeah, Melissa, you want to jump on
Yes.
your microphone? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question actually. So
Sure.
maybe I didn't pay attention as much, but just in case, is there a grading? Like, is there any
Yes.
like, yeah?
Yeah, we'll take
Okay.
it may be not what you're used to. The grading is
Okay.
right there. It's the same grading system I've used for and continue to use for the discussion posts, just maybe a little bit more developed. But let's look at it. So here you have, and I'll just come to, hold on a second, because that's an issue today. Yeah. Okay. I see what I need to do. Just give me a moment to make sure my screen is set up properly. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to highlight this. You can see there, Melissa, I've just highlighted how I'm grading it. And so thoughtful, encompassing, shows excellent integration of course material, well written. Well, I don't think I need to explain what thoughtful means, but encompassing means that you are bringing in um, ideas from what we've just explored in the class. Okay, the class itself, that's where you draw your content from. And encompassing means that you're bringing different ideas in that encompass different classes, so that you're not just focusing on one class, but you're encompassing all of the classes and referring to them best you can. And that what you're showing in that is excellent integration of course material. So what you're doing is you're processing what we explore together in the class, and then you are integrating that into your reflection and talking about the topics that we've discussed. And if you need to refresh yourself on those, you have the notes, you have the live chat to do that, you have the recording of a class to remind you of what was critical in that class. But I want you to be aware that this is a really important part right here: integration of course material. That's going to come up a lot in the second and particularly the third assignment. I'm always looking for you to be um, reflecting on, using the language from as best you can, the ideas from the class material. Okay.
That's
How does
perfect.
that
Thank you so
sound?
much.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you can see then, as the marking scheme goes down, where things become more problematic. And one thing I should probably mention that is coming up in some of the reflections already being done on the discussion posts is it's clear that some are being written by a machine or by AI. So I'm trying to work with those students individually to make sure that they take it seriously, that their own words really do matter. And also, please do not um, copy and paste other students' discussion posts that were posted in the days previous to yours. Obviously, that's not going to fly in this class, and you're going to fail this class for sure if you're doing that. So, I have pretty high standards when it comes to how you think in this class, and I will always be prepared to work with you if you need help. But please make sure you're writing in your own words. Now, let me just come back here and see if that works. Great. Let's look at Noah as well as Adam. Uh, both have questions. Are there any other requirements like writing, rewriting tools, grammar, and line spacing? Okay, good question. Rewriting tools. That I'd like you to kind of just elaborate on, Noah, so I understand, and the grammar, the line spacing. No, don't worry about that. That's really minor. But just wondering about grammar and rewriting tools. Can you explain what you mean by that, Noah? Could you do it? Are you able to do it on your microphone? It'll just go faster. If not, go ahead and put it in the chat. And while you're doing that, I'll move over to Adam here. If we go over no. And I think I've answered that question already oh yeah, that's Adam again. Sorry, I'm looking, it's the same Adam. And the format for the document, nope. The format is that ideally, but not necessary, that you have a title. Uh, and it can be single spaced, it can be double spaced. The font size, 12 point, 14 points if you need, but 12 points is fine. Whatever font you want to use is fine. What's really important to me, Adam, is that what I see in those 725 to 750 words is really well written sentences, like really well written sentences. Okay,
Okay,
that's
thank you.
yeah. Okay, good. So yeah, good. Okay, Noah. Great question. Well, Noah, of course, you can use any application to help you with spell check. But here's my big but, and probably you might know I'm going to go with this. I think students abuse Grammarly all the time. It's not just for spell check, it's for forming sentences, helping with their ideas, essentially getting the machine to write for them. And then I'm left with, am I marking a machine or a human here? So Noah, can you tell us or tell me now in the live, how do you use Grammarly? Exactly. Is it just for checking on spelling or more? And why do you need to check spelling so much? Don't you remember how to spell words? I mean, I am a longtime writer. I come from a whole background in broadcasting, journalism, writing. I've written many articles for newspapers, magazines. The written word to me is sacrosanct, sacred. And I teach the history of humanity as well, and short history of the world. And so I know how important the written word is to the development of the human mind. I worry that when you might think that you're just using Grammarly to check your spelling, you might think that spelling is not important. Spelling is a detail, and details matter, and you need to sweat the details in life. When you have to remember how a word is spelled and where a comma is put and a period is put and how to write a complete sentence, you're not just using grammar well, you're showing that you know how to think. And the written word is the human attempt to order our chaos. It was said very beautifully once by Northrop Frye, a great literary critic at University of Toronto. He said the human word is the power that orders our chaos. Think about that. The human word is the power that orders our chaos. So when you write something, you're ordering the chaos of your mind. And the more that you pay attention to the details and the more that you rewrite, the better and stronger and more rigorous your thinking will be. Now, how do I sound to all of you when I say this? I'm just curious. Does this sound like I'm lecturing at you? Or does this sort of help you to understand something about the written word? I want to make sure that this resonates. Let's see. Noah, what do you think about what I just said? Melissa, it does. Great. Okay, you mistype often. I got it, Noah. Well, why do you mistype? Why can't you type? Unless you have a disability. Why are you not rereading what you've written and determining if you've mistyped it? Why do you need the machine to tell you you've mistyped? Or maybe I'm not understanding. Noah, help me to understand, because this is very, very important to how I grade you this semester. Can you write? Yeah, exactly. You rush it. Thanks, Ruben. It's good. And sometimes we read what we write and it looks good until the prof reads it. Okay. Well, listen, I would just say this, okay? If you feel you have trouble with writing, let me know in an email and I will get you the help with a tutor privately. You probably already know from the marks that I'm giving in the discussion posts if I think you have trouble writing. And for example, today I have 5 or 6 students here whose third discussion posts I was hoping maybe I could read out loud or touch base with, but I don't think any of them are in the class right now. Manveer, Jody Reyes, Sneha, Julia Supers, Shazaib, Tariq. At any rate, if you feel you need help, let me know. And going forwards, just be aware that the reason I pay attention to good writing is because I care about good thinking, rigorous thinking, and good writing is good thinking. Dalton, you just sit down and type with no prior rough draft or anything, then submit. Usually works out very, very well. Okay, well, really, do you not reread what you've written and then edit that at all?
If I'm mid typing something and I feel like I could have worded something better in terms of a sentence, then yeah, I will. But like, there's no point at the end of the day, because if you believe in yourself fully and you understand that what you're producing is good work, then it's done, right? Like, I'm not gonna sit down and think about, like, for this assignment, for example, I have
Yes.
a couple ideas, but I'm not gonna really go through too much. I'm just gonna sit there and just start typing, you know?
Okay, but
It
then,
works out really well. It really does. I don't know how, but it just does.
well, I'll take a look. I mean, and see. I'm hesitant to say anything at this point because normally, in order for us to write well, we need to rewrite, and
Yeah,
it's
no, for sure. I type out like 1,000 word journal entries every single night on like things to improve upon in life, right? So it's
okay.
really convenient, you know, like you can just pretty
All
much
right.
go off of your head and just keep continuously writing.
You, you like to write, don't you?
No, I just like to review, find out
Writing every
where I
day,
can
but
do better.
okay. Anyways,
Yes, sir.
yeah, we'll see how
It'll
it
be a good assignment, man. It'll be a good assignment. What are your thoughts on talking about religion, though? Because obviously you said you wanted to relate
It's a
your
whole
course
class.
content.
We've got a whole class that's going to be dedicated to religion and science because religion and science are the two most important intellectual forces on the planet. They were created by humans. So you can't get any bigger than religion and science in terms of understanding humanity's future. Um, and
Do
so
you
that's
think religion was created by a human?
absolutely. I have no I don't want to say no doubt. Let's just put it this way. And then to answer your question, given how many religions there have been in history, Dalton, and how many religions there are today, and how different they can be, and yet how similar they can be, I have no doubt in my mind that they are expressions of human creativity and human need to know and understand something. Yes, that's my thought.
Do you personally believe in a God?
Do I personally believe in a God? Great
Yes, sir.
question. I'd like to answer this, everybody, because Dalton is asking a good question. So let me just take a moment to address it. But just know that I will be addressing this in more detail, Dalton, in a
Yes, sir. Please, I look forward to it.
God, I'm still coming to terms with the fact that while I don't intellectually, logically believe that there is simply one overarching power or God, emotionally, I feel something. I feel
That's
some.
good.
I feel some connection, and uh, I. I don't think I'm alone in that. I felt it most, Dalton, when I've been down and out in my
Hmm.
life.
Hmm.
That's where I felt it most strongly. It's hard to explain, but it's a feeling. Yeah,
Yeah, he's real. He is real.
it is real emotionally. And if you're interested in exploring this some more, I would highly recommend that you read about Abraham, the first prophet of the monotheistic religions, because there are many in the world that not always believing in one God, but there are three principal world faiths that all adhere to one God. And it starts with Judaism, it then became Christianity and Islam. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, which essentially form about 2.5 billion to 3 billion people on this planet who follow them, they all believe in one God, but it all starts with Abraham. He's the connecting prophet for all three. And his life, if he ever did exist, we don't know for certain, but the idea that he brought to humanity about 6,000 years ago was this idea that there is this one God. But many other cultures, Dalton, whether it was the Romans or the Greeks, or you could talk to a Hindu or a Buddhist or Zoroastrian, or, tribal mythologies and creation myths and all of these things. There are multiple gods. So, Rome became the great empire of the, first great global empire on what was called paganism, belief in multiple gods. So who's to say, that the one God is the only one? But there is this Abraham figure, and he felt something, and I understand that. I feel something myself. I don't know if that helps you, but think about Abraham and that
Mhm.
where you can. Finally, I would just say to this, Dalton, do you feel something to one God?
Yeah, I believe in my heart of hearts, my entire soul, that I have been saved by the love of Jesus Christ.
Excellent. Okay, so there you go. You have been saved, and not only that, that you have found the place where you are heard and where you belong, and I think that's wonderful.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, I was just curious. It's good to hear.
Okay, so it's interesting you ask, because I just got out of class global leader this morning. We were talking about new global leaders, and of course, as you can imagine, young people talking about global leaders, and there are religious or Christian students, and Charlie Kirk came up, and we talked
Yeah.
about him. And but anyways, let's move on. But thank you, Dalton, for asking big questions. It's very
Mhm.
important in this class. Okay, so let us see if there is anything else in the live chat that I have missed. Uh, Melissa French, yeah. Okay, that's fine. French is your first language, yeah. Yeah. No worries, Zubira. You're going to just stay with us. Zubira, is that how you pronounce your name, Zubira? Is that the correct pronunciation? Make sure I pronounce everybody's name correctly. Okay, so let us see. Unless there is a question, if not, I'm going to move on. I want to begin to move towards the most important part of today's class, which is next big thing. But let me just check my notes and see, in terms of the students whose discussion posts I wanted to read. I don't see any of them in the class right now, so we'll move on from there. Okay, so let us now begin to open ourselves to something really important about humanity's future, and that is the next development, game changing, technological, scientific, some kind of development that's going to happen, that's going to be very popular and very big, that's going to shake everything up in the way that the mobile phone did. Now everyone has one. It's a little computer that you carry in your hand. It's not a phone. It's a tiny computer with powerful um, capabilities in it now, but we still call it a phone. Of course, the internet was the next big thing of its day in the 90s and the 80s, and we can go back to the 20th century. The pandemic was also a very big thing. Big things can be whatever is coming in your lifetime that is going to affect the reality in significant ways for the most number of people in the most parts of the world. And I want to first address something about the next big thing that is a kind of overarching conflict, if you will, before I begin to touch on some of the areas where the next big thing may come out of. But essentially, just to refresh myself from previous lectures, as well as help you to understand something as well, when we talk about the big thing, we're talking about enduring forces in the story of humanity. Things like science and technology, health, education, religion, space exploration, the idea of evolution. These are all forces in the human story that have been there since we became human and play out, manifest themselves in different ways through different societies, different times. And so when we talk about the next big thing, what's coming, we're going to have to talk about those areas, and probably science and technology, because that's where so many of the big things happen now. But first, let me just check and see if there is anything that any of you would like to say before I identify a critical umbrella overarching this entire little lecture that I'm going to give in the next 15 or 20 minutes to you on this, before we begin to explore together what you think the next big thing will be, and we will vote on it. Okay. And if we have this class today to do that, great, but it might have to spill over into next week's class before we conclude. What do you all think is coming in terms of a next big thing? And we will vote. Where is it going to come from? How will it change us? How will it affect humanity? It may even come from religion. We'll see. So, first, does anyone have anything they'd like to say about the idea of what a next big thing is, or what we need to be thinking about right now before I really talk about this in greater detail? Please share your thoughts. You don't have to, but I always want to open this up. Okay. Now, normally we would be in the global classroom together, and I would have a lot of images and videos to show on the big board. But for now, we're just going to rely on the words that come out of my mouth and me speaking to you. And that's not such a bad thing, because once upon a time, about 5,000 years ago, the invention of the written word was the next big thing for humanity. And there was no such thing as a written word before then. It was just humans talking to each other. But then humans figured out how to write things down, at first with a little reed that they would grab, a piece of grass, hard grass, that they would then sort of shave down with a little tip, a stylus, and then they would put little symbols into soft clay that would then become baked, and that would become the first tablet and the first written document. But language to me is very, very important. So when you hear me speak, and particularly when I talk about the written word, I hope that you can now tether it, connect it to the fact that once upon a time, one of the most important inventions ever for all human beings was the invention of the written word. And it changed so much in human societies. This is the kind of thing I want to talk about now, is that kind of significant change. What's coming? Well, here's the overarching part that really you need to always think about when you're thinking about the next big thing today that's going to change our lives. And that is that we're living at a time of accelerated technological growth. And there is a growing conflict. Maybe it will resolve itself between the human and the machine. And on one hand, you have this creature called the human being. From a scientific perspective, when we look at evidence, we can also look at religion. as well, but I'm going to look at science because science is something that we have to prove with information. Religion often comes from something deeper, something emotional. So let's just look at science. Science tells us that there is a force called evolution on planet Earth, and that we humans, in a very brief way, I can explain this, have evolved. Our brain has evolved from lower forms of life on this planet over hundreds of millions of years. We humans are a product of natural evolution, and the brain that has been evolved out of this is unique in the universe. Now, here's what's happened. In human civilization, we humans, unlike any other creature on this planet, no other creature on planet Earth has ever been so fascinated by the natural world, so aware of the natural world, and has been taking things from the planet and reshaping them into objects that give us more power. So, 3 million years ago, you can look at the first stone that was actually shaped by a human hand into a weapon. And that tells you that very early on, we humans were taking things that nature had kind of put there, and we were taking that and remaking it into something else. Well, fast forward to 2025. And what we have now all around us are all of these tools and technologies and machines and human creations that we've created to the point where it now looks like you are living at the time, and I am in that time too, when our machines are becoming more intelligent than we are. And not only that we are now living through a time, it's called artificial intelligence, where a machine can learn on its own. It's called machine learning. It doesn't need a human to give it things to do. It can figure it out itself. This is a moment in history where we are faced with a dilemma. Do we want to be living in a future where our creations actually begin to tell us what to do, begin to decide things for us, begin to judge things for us? Do we want to be living in an age and an era where intelligence increasingly is separate from our brains? It's in something else, it's in the machine. And so there's this kind of tension now in which we're all living that's coming together in more and more strange and incredible ways, which is, what do we want to do with all of these machines that we are creating that are doing more and more for us, to the point where we are now, at this moment, entering an era never before entered by any other species, any other living thing on this planet, where the thing that we create, imagine this is just a measuring tape, but this is created by a human to do something for us, to give us power. Imagine this thing having its own artificial brain, digital consciousness. And imagine if this thing wants to do something that we don't want it to do. And it has the power to do that. Do we want to create that thing? If we do create that thing, how will we control it? Can it be used to augment our lives? Or will it be used to replace us, enslave us, make us irrelevant? It's no surprise that at the Toronto International Film Festival this year, one of the great international film festivals in the world, it's been around for now 40, 50 years, that one movie that was getting a lot of attention there and will likely be released shortly after the film. It's called Frankenstein. Well, Frankenstein is a story you all know and are aware of, but it's been remade into a contemporary version. It comes from an early novel written in the 1700s by Mary Shelley, a British author who's trying to understand what are humans entering into with their technological growth. So when we talk about the next big thing, what is unavoidable in this discussion, this exploration, will be if the next big thing is going to be quantum computing, let's say, people are talking about that. If the next big thing is going to be the coming singularity, as Ray Kurzweil has said, one of our most important futurists, has written a book called The Age of Spiritual Machines, was a senior engineer at Google, very important thinker about the future. He has talked about a coming moment in 2029 when machine intelligence will forever surpass human intelligence. Maybe that's going to be the next big thing. Maybe it will be something in another form of life. But everything ultimately today is tied to science and technology. So when we talk about the next big thing, we're always going to be faced with this dilemma at some point, the human and the machine, the human and the machine. And that's where I want to conclude this little lecture. It's just a little lecture to help you to understand the sort of overarching kind of environment in which we are all living right now, in which the next big thing will emerge. It will emerge at a time when there is a creature on this planet called the human who is so advanced, whose brain has become so developed that it has created this other thing that may replace the human or may not. What do we do with that? So I'm going to stop. Okay. And I want to make sure that this is all being kind of understood before we move on to some very specific sort of avenues we can go down as to where the next big thing may come from. Will it come from science, technology? Might it come from healthcare? Might it come from, religion, infectious disease, from an area, let's say, in the development of the human brain? Could it come from politics? Could it come from education? Will it come from inevitably, likely, computers, computational power, the development of quantum computing, which is the next level? I can explain that. We don't know, but we're going to talk about those things and decide where we think it might be. Okay, so let me stop for a second. Does anybody have any questions? Anything I'd like to say about what I just introduced to all of us about the next big thing, that we're living at a time when the human and the machine may be in conflict? Okay, so here's Noah. Well, Mike is also talking about in the future crypto market. Okay, we will touch on cryptocurrency. Maybe it will be in cryptocurrency, but you will see, Mike, as we look at this, that underneath that will always be this sort of conflict between where the machine can go and what it can do for us and whether we really want it or not. Okay, Noah, is it ethical even if you had something like that made in a way to only do work? Well, Noah, can you rewrite that question? Make it a little clearer for us? Please go ahead. No, not a problem, okay? I just want no need to apologize. Just rewrite it and think about what that question is trying to address. And then we'll talk more specifics. I painted a very broad picture for you of the environment that we're in, the culture that we're living in which all of these changes are happening. Okay, I'm going to come to some of you individually who I think will have some interesting things to say. Let's start with Sabrina. Hi, Sabrina. Can you jump on your microphone?
Can you hear me?
Yes. So tell me, what did you just hear me say?
I mean, I think one thing that kind of like sparked my whole thought process was like in 2029, our technological advancements could surpass human brain power.
Yes.
And that kind of has me thinking because I know I was reading an article a while ago about like how many species have gone extinct or are close to extinction. So with our technological advancements, could we perhaps like find a new way to maybe bring them back? Like with I can't think of the term. It's almost like cloning from
Yes.
genetics from them. Like in 2029 with this smarter technology, could that be a possibility? That's something that I kind of gathered from.
Great question. And I'm going to use these questions and comments that students make to help you kind of drill down to specifics, because what you're putting your finger on is genetic engineering. Okay,
Absolutely.
so and what I'd like to do with all of you is kind of begin to look at where the next big thing might come from and what it might do. So let's talk for a moment, everybody, about genetic engineering, because Sabrina, you've actually posed a very interesting problem, but also opportunity for humanity, which is
Right.
how do we bring back what we might have killed off, right?
Right.
Think
Because there's a
about
lot.
that, everybody. So I'm going to just explain something to everybody about this. First of all, I want to introduce you to something that is very real in the human story on planet Earth. It's called the megafaunal extinction. Have you ever heard that term before, Sabrina? Megafaunal extinction?
No, I have not.
Okay, good. Well, essentially, um, here's some news for all of you. 15,000 years ago and beyond that, in North America, it was a very different place. The Americas, North and South America, it was a big landmass, and there were a few humans starting to establish settlements, but there were giant animals here. Did you know there were saber-toothed tigers in the Americas? There were these giant sloths. There were big horses and other large, what are called megafauna. When we separate life on Earth, Melissa, we usually talk about flora, which are all the plants, and fauna, which are all the animals. That's how we look at generally the kingdoms of life on Earth. So when we talk about the megafaunal extinction, we're talking about big animals, megafauna. And we know that in a few thousand years, human hunters at the tail end of an ice age killed off all of those big animals. It's called the megafaunal extinction, and it's been explored and researched, and you can just put that into Copilot or Google, and you get a lot of scholarly articles on this, including a very important thinker on this, Jared Diamond, in his book Guns, Germs, and Steel. Very good book. Now, the idea of killing off animals is not new for humans. We've been doing that since the beginning of civilization. Okay, so there's nothing new. What is new is that we've reached a point in our development on this planet where we've made so many animals either extinct or endangered because of our kind of huge appetite, our human appetite. But here's what you are putting your finger on. Humans have figured out the thing called the genome. The genome is the series of genetic instructions inside the cells of every living thing on this planet. So whether it's your cat, the squirrel, you, or a tree, all living things on planet Earth have cells. And inside the cells, we've discovered the structure. It's called DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. We've discovered the structure where all of our 25,000 genes are actually arranged. And we now have the ability, Melissa, to go into the genome of all sorts of living things, or even if we find a tiny bit of DNA in it, the ice somewhere of a woolly mammoth that went extinct 30,000 years ago. But if we find a little bit of DNA of it in the ice, we can actually take that DNA potentially and recreate that animal and bring it back to life. So this is called genetic engineering. It is possible that our next big thing could come from genetic engineering. So we should put that down as a possibility for where the next big thing may come from. Genetic engineering, okay? So make sure, Hamza, that gets into the notes, okay? Because we're going to start to identify important areas where the next big thing could come from. Do you think, Sabrina, that we should be doing things like this? Actually taking a little bit of discovered remains of a creature that we find somewhere and then bringing it back?
I would probably say it's to an extent. Like, I feel like some of the animals that we have lost, like for example, the saber-tooth
Tiger.
tigers, they, they are a very alpha animal, and it could have like a domino impact on the animals that we do have on Earth right now. So
Hmm.
there's obviously going to be a give and take. It could help with, understanding the animals even more from our past, but there's also downfalls to it as
Sure.
well.
I will give you one thing to think about, okay? Let's get
Sure.
away from animals and just imagine this scenario because it's very, very real. It's called gene splicing.
Okay.
We are now able, in the last 20 years, we have figured out, now that we have completely sequenced the human genome, and to get into the detail on that, it takes some explanation, and in some ways it's above my pay grade, but I can explain the basics of it. We now have the ability to go into the genes of any human and clip out the gene that we don't like, so that when that human has a child, the next generation will not have that gene, meaning they won't have that trait. So let's say a person decides, I have alcoholism in my family, or drug addiction, or mental health problems, and I really don't want my child to struggle with that. Could I just go to the genetic engineer and just cut that out from my gene so that when I have sex next time and have a child, that child won't have that gene? Would you want to do that, Sabrina?
Obviously for me, like, of course, I want a
Right?
child that has like the best chance at a
Yeah.
good life, but everyone's gonna have the same idea at some point
Yeah.
if that becomes popular. So chances are we'd end up with everyone kind of being incredibly similar because of the splicing.
Well, just I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm raising the question for all of you that as you look into the future, your lifetime and beyond, there's an undeniable factor, Sabrina. We figured out how to get into the human genome and change it. That presents a new ethical question for humanity. Okay,
Right.
that's all I'm saying. But okay, let's move on, because we've established that maybe the next big thing will come from genetic engineering, and maybe it will be something that will ensure that any human, if he or she wants, just like any human today, can go to the pharmacy and get some medication off the shelf. Maybe there will be a company that commercializes some kind of way of just pop a pill, removes a gene. Now you can have children who won't have, wrinkles. I can make sure my child has blonde hair instead of black, and it just. Anyways, okay. What other areas should we be looking at, everyone, for where the next big thing may come from that will have the same kind of impact on the world that, let's say, the pandemic had, where everybody's affected, or that the development of the internet had? Because now we talk about the world pre-internet and post-internet changed everything. I remember both. I've lived through that transition. What else? Let's think. Ashwin, where might it come from? The next big thing. Kathy. Mm. Hmm. Okay. I think, but I'm not going to make any judgment yet. I'm looking right now at the cosmos in our class of all these planets, planet M, planet SH, planet AA, and all. Is anybody on these planets right now? Who's in the class? Let's see. Shazab. Is that pronounced correctly? Yeah. I wanted you to read also your third discussion post. Go ahead, Shazab.
So just to answer your question, actually, I was just thinking about it a little bit, and the next big thing, I'm not sure what it specifically might be, but it might have, actually, no, let me rephrase myself. Education might be its catalyst. Um, Both education and ignorance. Um, Perhaps it'll be like a political thing, perhaps it'll be a technological thing. Both of them are reaching levels that may cause such a event, like a revolutionary type of event.
Yes. Yes.
um but it's really, I just wanted to point it out because we're in a college, we're in an educational setting, and it's a really not ironic but a good connection here in a sense.
Excellent. Absolutely. And let's unpack a little bit about what you just said, because you've actually introduced an important word called revolution, because that's another way of looking at on the next big thing. But I'd like to stop for a moment, Shazab, with you, because and
Hmm.
am I pronouncing the name correctly?
You're good, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, also because I had identified your third discussion post as one that I maybe could talk more about and read out loud. So are you okay in a few moments to read out loud? I will actually bring it up on the screen and read out loud your third discussion post to
Of
everybody.
course, yeah, no
Great.
worries.
Okay, good. So, because I like to do that by showing other students the quality
Hmm.
of work that is being done. Okay, so
Thank you.
let's first with Shazab just begin to go a little further with what he said about what a next big thing could be. It's a revolution, and you said it might come out of education, or let's explore this a little bit more, because it might already be coming out of education and we don't really realize it until we actually think about it, because the pandemic certainly changed a lot of the way education is delivered now. But um, let's start by just exploring this with Shazab, and asking Shazab a question. What would you like the next big thing to be in education, Shazab? What if you had a dream, in your own lifetime, you'd like to see some revolution take place in this field of education that you are now in as a student? What do you imagine it would be?
Uh,
Mhm.
well, it's not an easy question for sure. Perhaps, how about this? Like, how about a more honest form of education? Or like a more modernized form of education,
Mhm.
because I'm not sure how to say this, but essentially some subjects and classes that we still study today, that aren't necessarily STEM, but could also be English or history or geography. Well, geography STEM, but you know what I mean.
Yep. Yes.
Um, they you can find them be a bit more traditional, following a pattern of education that's been since the 90s, right?
Yes.
It's not always a bad thing. It's not always it's not always bad to follow a pattern that possibly has been successful, but especially in a time now where AI exists. Well, I mean, I don't mean AI specifically, but I mean how modernized technology has gotten now that AI exists. Everything is changing, and I think
Yes.
um, a lot of forms of education, not necessarily just Durham College, but also colleges and universities around the world, still
Yes.
follow a traditional form of classroom, which isn't necessarily bad again, but
Yeah.
there's definitely something new that can be done. I don't know, something like that.
Something, no, good. And this is the kind of thinking, um, that leads entrepreneurs, like Sam Altman, for example, from OpenAI, or Elon Musk. We won't talk about what comes out of his mouth on social media. Let's just talk about what he's created, in terms of what he's engineered, or any other kind of visionary in the world of high tech. They're always thinking about what they dream of. You go back to the beginning of Apple computers, and you'll find Stephen Jobs and Stephen Wozniak in a garage in California, just playing around. So a lot of the big stuff, um, comes from just people dreaming and about what they really want to do, that they would love to do. So that's why I ask you, to dream this a little bit. And so let's come to, is it Rudra, or who was it that had a question or a hand up? Did that may have disappeared? Okay. So let's put down for now that the next big thing might come from the field of education, but we don't really know what that might be. But let's try and remember that the thing that comes, whatever it is, shouldn't be something that is good for humanity, as opposed to, let's say, a war. A war could be a next big thing. It's something, the way we define big thing is it's going to be something that's going to change our reality. Everybody's going to be affected by it. But I think that in our definition, we should be clear, shouldn't we? That we want that big thing to be something that will be good for all of us. What will that good thing be? That's a really important question. So if it might come from genetic engineering, it might come from education. What about transportation? What about healthcare? What about politics? What might the next big thing be in those fields? Tharson, would you like to try and answer that? Try with, for example, transportation. What would you like the next big thing, some kind of revolution, to take place in transportation, in the same way that the automobile became a next big thing when it replaced horsepower 100 years ago or so. Driverless cars? Could that be a big thing?
Yeah, or maybe even a more efficient public transportation system.
Okay. Well, now I like this because we're getting into something that might be more complicated, but makes more sense in some ways because so many people access public transportation in every part of the world. What, Darson, dream for a little bit, okay? Let's just sit back and dream because this is what humans do is they look at things and they play with them and they try to imagine how to make things better. So think about public transportation for a moment. What would you want to be developed that could be used by humans in all parts of the world in public transportation? What needs to be changed?
Ooh, I can't tell you.
Okay,
I take the
it's
car
okay.
everywhere.
It's okay. Try for the moment to think of your own life, your own daily life, and what you see around you with public transportation that drives you crazy, that you want to fix, that you want to improve. What would that be?
Hmm. There's a lot of traffic.
Traffic. Yeah. How do we reduce traffic? Let's
Ooh.
explore this for a second. Do we use AI to do that? Wouldn't that help? Could it? Maybe. You know what is said about artificial intelligence, which is really quite powerful. Here's a simple description of what artificial intelligence is. Very simple description. It's a computer, a machine that can do ever more complex tasks. That's all. Okay, very simple. One of the things that machines can do so well is it can take in an enormous amount of raw data from satellites, from sensors, for example. It can process that data instantaneously through algorithms that humans create to give us ideas for how we can change things. Imagine, just imagine for a moment that there is an application that a human develops that could be used to process a lot of raw traffic data in, let's say, Toronto. And with that data that is processed from all the traffic at the 407, the 401, the Don Valley Parkway, in Oshawa, Thixon, Taunton, Simcoe Avenue, all the movement of cars and traffic and buses and what have you. And this AI can take all of this data in from all of that, the cameras that are recording the traffic flow, and can actually suggest ways for the cars to be moving on those streets that would relieve traffic pressure. Maybe that application could then be used in other countries, in other parts of the world, in Singapore and Seoul, South Korea, and Lima, Peru, to reduce their traffic problems. There you have an example of a machine being brought in because it can process so much information to help us solve a public transportation problem. That's possible. And if you think about it already, your ability to go to an application today and look at what street you should travel when you want to drive your car or what bus line to take, you already have that largely available on your iPhone, right? That's called your own map application that you have. Google does that. So it is possible that we can be using these great new applications to be addressing traffic issues. It's already happening, but maybe something else will come into the future that will make it even easier for us. That's possible. It may come from transportation. Let's see where the questions are. I think there was a Melissa was putting her hand. Arya, Sabrina, this could play into future, but there was an article yesterday, today about how Huntington's disease was successfully treated for the first time ever. How was that done exactly, Sabrina? Because there may be the seeds of a new big thing in there. What was done to treat Huntington's disease? Gene therapy. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Okay, I'm going to conclude this part of the class today and just move towards the end of the class by showing you a great source that will help you in determining something about where the next big thing might come from or where it should come from in terms of solving humanity's problems. So let me just bring this up for you, okay? And then we're going to conclude, unless there's anything. We're going to spend a few minutes on this. And I'm going to share this. Here we go. Oops. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go through and check in with. Hello, Sneha. Can you jump on your microphone, please? Is Sneha Planet S inhabited right now, or has that planet gone cold? Looks like a cold planet. Ooh, Planet ZN out there in the cosmos. Zaina? Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, I'm going through here. Let's see what we have in the live chat. Hi, Zaina. Zaina, can you jump on your microphone? No? Okay. Oh, I have something even better. I see what's just come in. Julian Supers is here too. Hi, is it Julian? Because Julian or Julia, can you jump on your microphone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. Is it Julia?
No, Julian.
Julian. Okay. Thank you, Julian. Excellent. So okay, no problem, Zaina. You take care of yourself. You're in the hospital. Okay. I have two students whose discussion posts I want to touch base with and then look at this source as well. But first, let's look at this source. And then, Julian, do you have any trouble if we bring up your third discussion post and you read it out loud for the class? Are you okay with that?
No, sure, that's fine.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to make a note because we have 3 things left to do. Okay, so we've got world and data. We've got Shazabe, Tariq, and Shazabes, and we have Julian's. Okay, great. So, Julian, I'd just like to ask you before we do this, could you just sort of tell the class right now what you're looking at, what you think you're looking at? What is it?
Think it's like a world data center, maybe.
Have you ever gone to a website called Our World in Data? You ever used it?
No, I haven't.
Excellent. Okay. This is an outstanding source to understand what's happening to humanity. It's compiled by researchers and scholars at Oxford University in England, and it's very comprehensive and very detailed. And I would like to show you all something about this, okay? Because I think that you're going to find that when you think about what humanity is facing and what kinds of problems humanity is facing and where we might need a revolution to take place, you can trust that the information from this site is authoritative and useful in helping you to answer that question. So I'm just going to show you something. As you can see, their mission is, what do we need to know to make the world a better place? It's just very, very simple. And I'll just read these two little paragraphs here, and then I'm going to click to another page, and then we're going to move on. To make progress against the pressing problems the world faces, we need to be informed by the best research and data. Our world and data makes this knowledge accessible and understandable to empower those working to build a better world. It's really important that when we talk about where the next big thing may come from, we talk about improvement, betterment, social betterment. To understand a little bit more about some of the areas where this may come from, I would point to you a page, the Browse by Topic page, where you can learn more about the area of health, energy and environment, food and agriculture, poverty and economic development, education and knowledge, um, innovation and technological change, living conditions, human rights and democracy, violence and war. This is a good sort of overview of understanding where some of the changes may take place or where you would like them to take place. For your first assignment, when you talk about your hopes for the future, our collective future, this could be a very good source for you to use in trying to understand where the most important changes need to take place. And so I just want to introduce you to this idea of the world and data being there for all of you as a source. And I'm just going to come back, and I want to finish up. We just have 15 minutes left, and I want to give time for Shazab and finally Julian to read their discussion post. So let me go over here to sharing that, and it would be the homepage. Okay, and you will see now that. And just hold on. I'm going to take you all to the discussions. Okay, I'm going to go down to the third discussion board. And Shazab, are you still with us?
I'm right here. Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm just scrolling down to Shazab Tariq, third discussion, and we'll probably pass Julian's as well. We'll do Julian's, and there we are. Oh yeah, Shazab just asked a really good question. That's right. Okay, so Shazab, could you just go ahead and read this question?
Of course. So, in a time of division from various factors, forgive my spelling,
Yep.
what would it look like for mutual comprehension and multicultural acceptance to truly exist in a society?
Great question. Well, I'm not going to ask anyone right now to try and answer this, or to elaborate, or even for Shazab to elaborate. I just want you to think about the beauty of this simple question, which is Shazab is asking, what would it look like? In other words, he's asking all of us to dream, to think ahead, and to imagine. And this is a very important part of thinking about the future and thinking about the next big thing, is to use your imagination. And so you may find that when you come to your first assignment and you're talking about your hopes for our collective future, this question may come back to you, which is, well, yes, you might decide for your first assignment to try and address this and say, yes, I am kind of hopeful for our future because I think that we can, when it comes to diversity and intolerance and acceptance, we can actually build something better for ourselves. And I have an idea for how we can do this. Here's what I think multicultural acceptance would truly look like: not mutual miscomprehension, but mutual comprehension, not intolerance, but understanding. And here is how I see it. And you may find that as you write that out, how that might look, by the end of writing that first assignment, you may find yourself in a position of hope, of greater hope, because what you've done is you've used your imagination to imagine what it would look like. And when we imagine something and we have a mental representation of that thing, there's a much better chance that we can achieve that thing. We have to start with an idea. And so, there in that question, Shazab is just challenging us a little bit. What would it look like? Okay, finally, Julian, let's go. I'm not sure if it's down or up, but I'll go down. There it is. Let's end with this. Julian Supers, would you please read out loud your third discussion post to everybody? Go ahead.
Okay, so the question I put was, why is humanity becoming increasingly skeptical of facts, and how does it affect our future?
Go ahead. Read the reasoning.
Okay, so the reason I asked this question is because facts are the building blocks of how our society functions. So when these facts are put into question by world leaders or those in the authority or the culture, they disrupt how we as humans can solve the bigger problems that are a threat, like climate change. I put as an example.
Yeah. Keep going.
So basically, the threat of climate change being questioned creates like worse problems because we don't recognize it as a problem.
Yeah. Keep reading. Just
And
read
also,
it.
another example I put is like our present day strike.
Yes.
The college is ignoring like the facts of that changes need to be done.
Yes. Keep going. You can read it word for word. The question is worth asking, and just carry on reading.
Okay, the question is worth asking because it threatens to impact humanity's destiny depending on how we respond to it. A major part of the issue is due to the globalization of the world we live in today and with the spread of worldwide communication. This globalization means that facts can be criticized and create echo chambers where the truth becomes virtually invisible. Future conflicts that could have otherwise not happened could take place over what could just be a misunderstanding of fact as opposed to what is fiction in terms of worldview and values. And then from a planetization perspective, we as humans must come to terms with the fact that what we believe will shape not only our future, but also the planet's future.
Excellent. Thank you, Julian, for reading that out loud and helping us to think. But you've also done something with this that is important. You've integrated the course material well. Remember, we started the class today with the first assignment sheet, and I showed you the marking scheme and about integration of course material. And this is what Julian was doing with this discussion post. He's used the term planetization. He's addressing the idea of what is a fact and what is fiction, something we've certainly touched on. He's mentioned the strike, and all of these are things where I see a student processing what we've been exploring together in the class. So good work, Julian. Okay. Now,
Thank you.
yeah, we're just about out of time, but I do want to ask you to help me with something, and I'm just going to come to the live chat, and then we're going to conclude the class. So get ready, Hamza. We're getting down to the point where I'm going to ask you to cut and paste all of the notes in. Okay, so are you good? Yeah, okay, great. Good. All right. So there are 25 people in the class right now, and these 25, I'm going to ask you to answer a question for me to help me as we go forwards for next week and beyond in terms of how we're going to do our classes with the strike. Okay, so you can answer yes or no. Here's the question. Please, all of you, listen and answer this question, because this will really help me to address how I should be delivering this class to you. Next week, would you prefer that we have this class in person in the global classroom, even if I'm facing all sorts of technical problems, because I won't have technical support because of the strike? But would you rather, even if it's lower tech, that we are in person together as opposed to doing this online? Yes or no? Let me see what comes in. Thanks, Ashwin, Shazib, Ibrahim, in person, Julian, Tenzin, in person. Yeah, as a commuter, sure. Keep going. How many? Okay. Who else are we? Do we have everybody? Let's see. One man, I. Karen Deep is 2. Kathy is 3. Masum is 4. Majinder is 5. Subira is 6. Tharson is 7. Noah is 8. Adam is 9. Melissa is 10. Sabrina is 11. Tenzin is 12. Julian is 13. Zain is 14. Hamza is 15. Jacob 16. Ibrahim 6. Yeah. Okay, it's enough. Thanks. Yeah. I don't. Oh, who did the poll? Who did that? Somebody just did a poll. Way to go. Way to go, Masum. I was going to try and do that myself at some point. I have to learn. Is it that simple? You just did it. Way to go. Okay, so I'll go and click on polls to see what. Now, oh, did you use the poll feature, Masum? Where's the result?
Yeah, I used the. Sure.
You did? Okay. Where's the result? I can't see
If
it.
you go to polls, it should show the results.
Okay, I see. Oh, I see. Okay, so where, so in person or online,
19 people did it.
how, let's try that, okay, for a second. So where should the class be? In person? Submit. Okay, got it. Thanks, Masum. I found it. 65% are saying in person, 45% are saying online. Interesting. So I thought there might be a lot more in person. Let me take a look at this and, I'll think about this, okay, for next week, everybody, in terms of the results. I was expecting more in person, quite frankly, but that's interesting. Okay, I'll work with that. And let me just take a quick screenshot of this so I don't lose it. But I'll save it as well. And I'll do it this way. Chat polls. Okay, I've got it. And I'll come back to chat. That's right. You won't have to write the 250 words if you're in person. Okay, but at any rate, let me think. I'm trying to find ways to stick handle the strike, while at the same time respecting there's a picket line there, and I support my fellow support staff, and in no way do I want to cross a picket line. However, there comes a point, where, this, you are the ones, all of you, who matter the most. Excuse me. And I really want to make sure that we can maintain the highest standards of an educational experience for you each week. And so I'll give some thought to this. At any rate, I think we are coming to the end, and we've just begun to look at the next big thing and try to understand where it may come from and why it may be needed. And next week we'll conclude with this, and we'll come with more ideas, and we'll vote and decide on what we think will be the next big thing together. And maybe I'll use the poll as well a little bit more for that. Thanks, Masoom, for taking charge of that. Okay, so Hamza, please go ahead now, and you don't have to cut and paste. The most important thing is that you put it into your discussion post. Would you like a little more time to clean up your notes and then put into the discussion post a little bit later today, or are you ready to cut and paste? Yeah, okay, good. Go ahead. Okay, I'll give you. I'd like you to do that by the end of today. Okay, so you have until the end of today because I want to get the notes up for all the asynchronous students. Okay, good, everybody. Does anybody have any question for me before I sign off here from my sunroom in Toronto? Not sure, Melissa. I'll let you know in an announcement. Okay. Oh yeah, you'll always have the option of being online, in person. There are 3 ways to participate in the class. Don't forget. At least if there were no strike, there would be the in-person group. The online could come into that in-person group just the way you're doing it here. I would simply just be in the global classroom with a bunch of students, but you could still be coming online and you could still watch the recording too. So that there will always be the online option for you, Melissa.
Okay, so if people
Yeah.
want to come online, like we're doing this in person or online, if they really want to be online, they could just show up online even if we're in class next week. Okay, that's
Exactly.
fine then.
Yeah, absolutely. What's happened with the strike, Melissa, is I've just simply removed an option. I'm not coming to the campus to be in person with all of you who would like to be in person. Okay, but
Mhm.
I may do that next week, but you can still join online as well.
That's
Okay.
perfect then. Thank you.
Okay. All right, everybody. Anything else? If not, Hamza will clean up his notes. They'll be posted by the end of the day. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and I look forward to your 4th discussion post, okay? See you next week.